Okay, go for it.
My name is Cynthia.
I'm Elena.
Anas Hussein.
Kaya Delochi.
My name is Clement Liu.
And this is Butter.
I personally worked on these recommendation forms, as well as the profile, and then I worked on these little square visuals that you see, as well as a few doodles that will be done by the end of today. Actually, haven't finished them yet. But yeah, so this is basically all that we worked on, and it started from something like this, where we really didn't have much of an idea of what we were working with yet.
So once we got into user testing sessions, we immediately found out that the users were relying way too much on the search page for whichever task they were given. So we expected people to spend most of their time on the feed page, and we soon found out that the feed page wasn't really visually convincing enough. It wasn't really telling the user that, hey, if you scroll down the page, you will have more content. Initially on our feed page, we had a top filter part that was kind of used as a minor sort of sorting and search function. But then we soon realized that it was actually doing the same thing as the search page. So we just got rid of that so that the feed page had more identity, had a clear purpose. And once we had that, we went into another. We went back to some of the users and asked them questions, and immediately we saw the change. People were more likely to explore and stick with the feed page and actually scroll down and look for things.
I focused more on the back end for this project, and so for Butter, I was focusing towards working on the API, developing that to match the specs needed for the client, as well as developing the database to store all the information for the recommendations and the users and the different restaurants. Originally, it was a very limited amount of data that we had for a recommendation. It would just be like the recommendations ID and then some of the basic ratings that we had. But as we progressed, we discussed the different specs and the different details that we wanted to keep track for a recommendation. And so as that developed, we added more complexity and relationships between the data in the backend. And so now we have the users and then the different restaurant types and the user roles, in addition to all the recommendations that we originally had.
Okay, so this is Postman, some just like a software that we're using to test all of our API calls. So the front end would ask something like get all of the recommendations, and this is how they would sort of phrase that. They would send it to us, and then we would return some basic information about the information. So this is kind of an ID that we use in our database. The recommendation location, what the actual restaurant is, some of the descriptions about what the restaurant is. And then this is getting the whole recommendation. So like I said, we're not trying to give them, like terabytes of information when they don't need it.
My job is kind of to implement what designers come up with for what the app should actually look like and what the user experience should be, and then also integrate it with the back end. One of the features that the designers came up with was this kind of overlapped view where different elements appeared like they were overlapped with each other. And that is something that's kind of difficult to do in React because the way things are laid is later things are always put on top of the earlier things. And so I actually had to reverse the way that it appears in the code.
I guess for me, this was my first time really doing some hands-on backend experience. I think that was really interesting and meaningful for me through this project to be able to apply those skills and concepts that I've had from coursework.